Chelsea have now recorded back-to-back 5-1 wins at home in Stamford Bridge, so things are looking up for Gus Hiddink's men. And Jason, would you like to tell the audience what you think about Gus Hiddink?
Just like Gus Hiddink looks exactly like a guy whose name Gus Hiddink should look like. Chemistry teacher out of high school.
Very strict, hands out discipline firmly.
I'd say more like bores you to death with monotone voice.
But if you're passing notes in his class, what's going to happen?
He's gonna get you in shape and beat the hell out of Man City 5-1.
True. So Chelsea went out with a full-strength team against Manchester City in the FA Cup tie. So is my new term, like to shoot rattlesnakes from the start? It doesn't really mean anything. I just like to say, which just means let's get the excuses that people are talking about out of the way. The FA Cup.
Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think I heard
Scotland doesn't have rattlesnakes.
But I adopted it since I came here.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I don't think California.
I think it means let's just clear things up here. All right. If you got a rattlesnake going across your path, you want to clear it up. You want to get things out of the way. It's a weird analogy, but we'll go with it.
Walk around it.
Manchester City rested an enormous amount of players. The scheduling of their games, I think, is a little harsh on them because, especially traveling to Kiev, it's not exactly an easy trip, and they had to rest a bunch of their players. They did start the likes of Di Michelis, they had Caballero in goal as a senior player, but he brought in 6 teenagers to the team.
Hold on. Saying that phrase of, he did start Di Michelis is not really the best way to go. True. Out of all the guys I met, he started like the 10th best starter on Manchester City.
It does showcase, so that's how, well, I didn't think it was a weak team, right? I expected this because the Champions League is more important to them. But even so, I thought that the teenagers, for me, performed a lot better than some of the senior players. Zabaleta was poor. I thought Di Michelis was really poor.
Here's in the younger guys' defense, one, they're probably amped to be playing. Of course, that's one of the major things I would say. And then two is, it's not like Zabaleta plays with these youthful guys all the time, like he would the normal starting 11. So maybe Zabaleta, again, I find it hard to believe when players say that they take every single one of these games equally as serious when you have an FA Cup game behind a Champions League game. It's obvious the Champions League means a lot more to them come Wednesday.
Yes.
And it wasn't so much, like at first I was a little confused because I was like, that's a 3-day layoff. Like the Premier League, sometimes you play Saturday, then you play Tuesday. Like, what's the difference? The difference was they had to get on a plane to go to Kiev.
Yes.
Like 24 hours after that game. And it was also, what's his name? Pellegrini was pissed. I think we have some of the press, we have Gus Hiddink's press conference. We'll get to that in a second. But Pellegrini was pissed because they switched the broadcast times. Yeah. They made that a later game. Originally, I think it was like 4 hours, 5 hours beforehand. So
yeah, the scheduling wasn't Pellegrini's best friend. Nonetheless, Chelsea, credit to them, they're taking this competition very serious. I think more serious than anyone else. This could salvage their season. If they win the FA Cup, they get a place in the Europa League. I think something that at the start of their horrible demise at the beginning of the season, they couldn't even imagine. Because I think has got them focused. He's even got Eden Hazard scoring. The man can obviously perform miracles. But the question I wanted to pose to the audience, and I was asked on 120 and other platforms, is, was this disrespectful to the FA Cup? I don't think the FA Cup holds the significance that everyone puts it in. Yes, it's a good competition for small teams to try and compete with the big boys, and there is those nostalgic moments that everyone remembers in the FA Cup. But for bigger teams that have literally bigger fish to fry, they're still always going to focus on that. Chelsea, rightly so, went out with a strong team. I don't criticize Pellegrini's team choice. I criticize how he handled the media. He made it seem that he was taking this competition serious. And of course, I don't want him to come out and be like, we don't give a fuck. We don't care. But there's a way you handle it. He made it seem to the fans, because Manchester City fans, I don't know what world people live in when they think that Manchester City have such bigger fish to fry that a competition like the FA Cup doesn't mean anything to them. Because I don't think they're going to win the Premier League. Yes, they're still in a run-in for it. The Champions League is a long shot. I'm talking about sniper range shot if they want to try and win that. The FA Cup, even if it doesn't hold a significant value, still silverware, and it's still something that Manchester City would like to win. They've got the Capital One Cup final this weekend, which I'm sure they're looking forward to.
But also, Manchester City's a sitting duck squad. They're waiting for their actual manager to get there, which of course is going to change a lot of things. And at the same point, like they're playing for the FA Cup, sure. The Champions League long shot, but they're still going to want to make a
good run at it. And they've got a kind draw as well. But the one thing that I do want to talk about is the squad depth. If they had better, I would say, overall spending of their money in strengthening positions, then they maybe wouldn't be in the position of suffering with De Bruyne out. And maybe when Aguero goes out, they don't have the right replacements to come in. But that's another question. I don't think it was disrespectful towards the FA Cup. I don't think it was disrespectful towards Chelsea. Maybe disrespectful towards the the willingness,
The ticket
and
buyers?
the thoughts of Manchester City's fans. But
Fair enough.
again, it was always going to be tough, I thought, to go to
For
Stamford
instance,
Bridge.
that was not the only incident that happened during Chelsea versus Manchester City. Coins. They're always finding new things to throw on the pitch.
Coins
In
is always
America,
gonna go.
we just throw beer. I mean, it's pretty
Or a
simple.
shoe.
Or a shoe. We
cupcake.
throw shoes at our presidents. We throw beer at our teams. So if anybody remembers the George
That
Bush
was the best
video of
thing
getting
ever.
who
So
throws
funny.
a shoe?
Let's just clear up that unsavoury incident when Manchester City got their goal. There were a number of coins thrown from the Chelsea end. I've just spoken to a security official who confirmed that Michael Jones was given a number of coins from the referee, Andre Mariner. And after what happened to Chris Brunt yesterday in those pretty unsavoury scenes at Reading yesterday, no doubt that might be an issue for the Football Association.
Very strange way of tipping your referees.
They just wanted to make sure they had parking.
Right.
Make sure they could
Gotta fill your meter. It's halftime.
Coins were thrown by some Chelsea.
Yeah, I was aware. I can easily say no, I'm not aware, but I was aware. And I like always to face the facts a bit. Not a bit, a lot. There were coins thrown to the Man City players in their celebration. Yeah, we condemned it, and I condemn it strongly. And I think Chelsea, although I think they will react. Those people, those persons, they must not come into stadiums.
So apparently David Faupala was struck with one of the coins, so that came out. And also this happened in a West Brom game, so this isn't just specific to Chelsea. So don't make sure to jump on us. I know we criticise
cover
Chelsea.
a lot of Chelsea
The active Chelsea fans, nonetheless, I think is often awful at times, but they're not the only one, because it seemed like we all got in a time machine this weekend and we went back to the late 80s, mid 90s, because Millwall were not acting, I would say, professionally either. There was a video release which we'll throw to here, which involved Millwall fans in their game against Peterborough in League One. It seemed like getting into it with police officers. Take a look.
They're all beating the police up. Thank you for the commentary.
Thanks for the narrating there from one of the video, whoever's in charge of videography there. But nonetheless, not positive signs to see. I mean, I'm not going to be ridiculous here and be like, oh, it's back to the way it was when movies like Football Factory were made, and then the horrible movie which everyone in America loves, Green Street, which has an Aussie play an English accent, which is the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm forever blowing bubbles, shrimp on the Barbie, mate. That's how it sounds.
I remember the Bubbles song.
You like that song? We'll talk about that in Football Chance. Nonetheless, Millwall fans, of course, are going to be punished for this if there's anyone caught. But going back to Chelsea fans, will be given a lifetime ban if they are caught with the ones. Because people think it's you can just put up your hood and just throw it. But often there'll be ways around it to try and find out who is the culprits in that example. It can cause damage. I've seen players be banged in the head with like thick pound coins. You don't get like that thick coins here. You guys have quarters and dimes. What are they?
Keep going. You're fine.
And nickels.
Keep going.
And pennies. Well, we have
you
pennies
go.
as well. But we have pound coins, right? Have you had them? And they are thick. Like if you toss one of them, that can cause serious damage. It's like a small stone.
We were taught when we were very young, if you drop a penny off the Empire State Building, you can like kill a human or something. But
you ever tried
the draft, like
okay.
to go back up.
And we did have £2 coins at once. I don't know if they're still there. And those things,
They weigh £2.
They were
See,
big coins.
You know what I find amazing is that your currency is in pounds, but you don't.
Or weights in kilograms.
But your weights in kilograms. Why isn't it a 1 kilogram coin?
I don't think it's to signify the weight of it.
You can just go around and just be like, I want a kilo of coins.
I don't think if I suddenly bring in a bunch of money and it weighs £3,000, it could just all be.
That would be a great way to like actually determine wealth. Like, oh my God, he's got a house worth of coins. He can't even move it to the bank. It's so fucking expensive.
I'm sorry if we took this into
so fucking heavy,
business in currency, but I'm sure you're probably bored by this point. But nonetheless, we want to ask you these questions. What do you think about Manchester City's demise against Chelsea? Do you think that Man City and Pellegrini disrespected the FA Cup? They disrespected Chelsea, disrespected their fans? Want to know what you guys think. What do you think about the fans reacting in that example? What should happen? What's the accurate punishment? All the good stuff in the comment section below at 280 Sports, as you see here on Twitter. Our Twitter game's stepping up. Get our very own EP, Dan Kesson, pulling memes out of everywhere, out of Cavani's arse apparently as well. And make sure to come back and follow us on YouTube, I guess.